Good day everyone and welcome to this follow-up video on the Elden Ring minimum specs. On the Elden Ring Twitter page, they have confirmed the minimum specs and what was posted in the previous video, which was via the Steam, which was more of a leak or unintentional release, the information matches. And I'm going to get straight into it. In the previous video, I was talking about the i5-8400 and the 3300X. That was already confirmed, and we can go with the fact that that video is correct, as the minimum specs were confirmed via the Elden Ring Twitter page. Now we are looking in this video at the recommended specs, and straight into it, the recommended specs are 8700K and a Ryzen 5 3600X. 16 gigabytes of RAM, and they are recommending a GTX 1070 8 gigabyte and a Vega 56 8 gigabyte. So it seems like 8 gigabytes of VRAM are going to be important for the recommended specs. Now the thing about it is the recommended specifications do not go into the fact that if it's 1080p or 1440p, but given that recommended is usually, and I say usually, 1080p 60 fps, this seems to be a little bit demanding for a lot of you, and I'm going to just use some information from Tech Power Up. You could see the GTX 1070 is much more powerful than the 1060. It's about 25%, 26%, sometimes it's even a little more if the game requires more VRAM and a little more oomph in the processing power. So what does that mean for the GTX 1060 users? Now with Dying Light as a more AAA modern day example, it means you are going to have to compromise and use medium settings or low settings if you have the GTX 1060 at 1080p and you want to get that 60 fps. Now my recommendation is usually going to be of what we see from the Steam hardware survey, as it is the biggest pool of hardware data that is readily accessible to me to see what people other than myself are using. So the GTX 1070 is going to be in similar class of performance as the 1660 Super and the 1660 Ti. So everyone here is going to be perfectly fine. The 2060 users, they are going to be fine. The people I think are going to have a harder time and may have to compromise with either 30 fps or going down to a lower resolution like maybe 900p and using a mixture of medium and to low settings at the 1650 and the 1050. I believe medium settings with some tweak to low should be enough, with maybe an overclock, to get the 1060 to around an average of 60 fps. People with a 2070 Super, 1080 Ti, a 3060, a 3070, a 6600 XT, they are most likely going to be fine for higher resolutions. The 8700K, for those of you who don't know, is a 6-core, 6-thread a 12-thread processor, same like the Ryzen. They are both pretty good. The Ryzen 3600 has much lower latency than the 1600 and the 2600. It's a very capable CPU. So this game seems to be maybe aiming for 12 threads. So it's maybe demanding for those of you on quad cores with 8. Yeah, so that's going to be a bit of an issue for some people who have older quad cores. However, if you are okay with lowering your settings, you should be fine. Remember, this is also being optimized for last generation consoles, so I expect there to be at least some reasonable settings in there to be tweaked to get you to 60 fps. Most likely it's going to be something demanding like either the physics or the shadows, reflections, or maybe level of detail, world detail, those sort of things may have to be lower to get you to 60 fps. For those of you who would compromise and accept 30 fps, maybe you could turn up some settings and lock the game to 30. So these are the recommended specifications. If you have any questions, what do I think about the game? What are my specs? I have two systems, a 2700X and a 3700X, a 1650 Super and a GTX 1080 Ti. So I should be fairly comfortable in both of those systems for both minimum and recommended to test out the game. I will have testing on launch day, hopefully, because if I could download the game on time, and I plan to benchmark the game and play the game. So there will be a let's play on the channel. If you have any questions at all, if your system could run it or what I think, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and have a nice day.